Hello world. This is book trailer number 23 and it's Sideways Stories from Wayside School, and the author is Sachar. I had this book when I first started teaching in '78 and kids love it today, so it has stood the test of time. There's 30 short stories in it, and I'm just going to read one of them. I'm going to summarize a little bit so you can kind of see the flavor of the book. It's a lot of fun. This one is called Paul. Paul had the best seat in Miss Jewel's class. He sat in the back of the room. It was the seat that was the farthest away from Mrs. Jewel's. Mrs. Jewel's was teaching the class about fractions. She drew a picture of a pie on the blackboard. Paul never paid attention. He didn't see the picture of the pie. He didn't see anything. Well, he did see one thing. Actually, he saw two things. He saw Leslie's two pigtails. Leslie sat in front of Paul. She had two long brown pigtails that reached all the way down to her waist. Paul saw those pigtails, and a terrible urge came over him. He wanted to pull a pigtail. He wanted to wrap his fist around it, feel the hair between his fingers, and just yank. Slowly he reached for the one on the right. No, what am I doing? He thought, I'll only get in trouble. So this goes on for the rest of the page, where the pigtail is like talking to him, saying, pull me, Paul. And so suddenly his arm shot forward. He grabbed Leslie's right pigtail and yanked. Yeah! Screamed Leslie. Everybody looked at her. Paul pulled my pigtail, she said. They all looked at Paul. I couldn't help it, said Paul. You'd better learn to help it, said Mrs. Jewel's. She wrote Paul's name on the blackboard under the word discipline. Paul felt horrible. Never again would he pull another pigtail. Except there was one problem. He still wasn't satisfied. He had pulled the right one, but that wasn't enough. He wanted to pull the left one too. It was as if he heard a little voice coming from the pigtail saying, pull me, Paul, pull me. So this goes on for another page. And then Paul grabbed the left pigtail. It felt good in his hand. He pulled as hard as he could. Yeah! Screamed Leslie. Miss Jewel's asked, Paul, did you pull Leslie's pigtail again? No, said Paul. I pulled the other one. Anyway, so he got a check next to his name. And Paul is feeling satisfied, though, because his name was on the board and with a check next to it. But that really didn't matter. All he had to do was stay out of trouble the rest of the day, and his name would be erased. It was easy to stay out of trouble when you had the best seat in the class. In fact, Paul could do this every day. He could pull Leslie's pigtails twice, and then stay out of trouble the rest of the day. And there was nothing Leslie could do about it. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Leslie screamed, yeah! Miss Jewel circled Paul's name and sent him home early on the kindergarten bus. Nobody would believe that he hadn't pulled Leslie's pigtail again. So he was outsmarted. And that's kind of like the flavor of all of these stories. They're just awesome. They're a lot of fun. You have grandkids or your kids or even teenagers. It's just a lot of fun. Enjoy.